media personnel, man, they are upset with Kevin Stefanski because he won't move on from Joe Flacco, and the Cleveland Browns fan base deserves better. Now, I've told you guys plenty of times that this is not about bashing Joe Flacco or Dylan Gabriel. Dylan Gabriel needs an opportunity as well, but the Cleveland Browns' best quarterback on that roster right now, me personally, and a lot of people's opinions, is Shedeur Sanders.
The Browns thought benching Shedeur Sanders was just some tiny tweak, but what they really tossed aside was their last shred of hope. Fans tuned in expecting fireworks and got a soggy sparkler that couldn't even light. The stadium vibe turned colder than Cleveland in January, and the broadcast bled viewers like an open wound. People bailed faster than a Joe Flacco deep ball floating helplessly into triple coverage. The loyal dog pound ghosted. They remembered laundry day, grocery shopping, or literally anything better than watching this mess. But why did fans abandon ship quicker than Cleveland's playoff dreams? Oh, this story gets ugly. Cleveland didn't just lose to the Detroit Lions. No, that would have been too easy, too merciful. What they pulled off was a masterclass in how to set your own fan base on fire while smiling through it. They didn't just disappoint, they insulted the patience of an entire city.
And the Cleveland Browns, fresh off their upset of the Packers. There was a lot of chatter about the Browns defense, the Lions offense, and it was close. This is another one where
score doesn't really tell you the game.
34-10 doesn't tell you the story of the game. The Browns were in it, and it was interesting. They just can't muster enough on offense. Quinshon Judkins has been very good. Joe Flacco, going into the game, was the lowest qualifying starting quarterback in passer rating in the league.
Ratings didn't drop. They cratered so hard, Netflix execs are joking about sending Kevin Stefanski a fruit basket for boosting their numbers. Because this wasn't football, it was a hostage situation. Joe Flacco was out there running the offense like the ransom demand, and the crowd had no choice but to suffer. Viewers sat there waiting, praying to see Shedeur Sanders breathe some actual life into a franchise that's been starving for decades. Instead, the Browns trotted out a quarterback whose highlight reel feels like a tax seminar on repeat, and the collective sound of TVs clicking off echoed across the country like a national siren. And the numbers? Brutal. 40% of the audience gone the second the lineups hit the screen. Not 10, not 20, not even 30. 40%. That's not a drop, that's an extinction-level collapse. Imagine spending billions on primetime rights only for Cleveland to chase your audience straight into YouTube cat videos. At this point, sponsors would honestly have better luck throwing their ads into late-night reruns of cooking shows than wasting money on a Browns game. The collapse has gotten so embarrassing that brands are begging to escape. And this wasn't just fans casually switching over to another game. No, this was a full-blown digital rebellion.
Shedeur Sanders up to fail. Today's decision in game may be the proof that they needed, because not only do fans think it's weird that Shedeur Sanders got taken out at the end of the game, but even some former NFL players are speaking out on this subject.
Damn.
See, if you didn't watch today's preseason game, late in the game, Shedeur Sanders was in at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Well, when it got to be the 2-minute drill, but the coaching staff said, nope, Tyler Huntley, you go in and you do the 2-minute drill. Now, everybody thought this was weird because Tyler Huntley was brought in just because the quarterbacks were getting injured. He was never meant to make the team or to be a part of the future.
People weren't saying, let me check what's happening with the Chiefs. They were straight up deleting apps mid-broadcast. They were canceling Sunday ticket subscriptions while the game was still going on. Fans were recording themselves smashing the remote, posting videos of their TVs going dark. And those clips pulled in more views than the actual Cleveland broadcast. That's how disgraceful it's become. Influencers are now cashing in off the misery of Cleveland football, and the outrage isn't trending, it's detonating. Twitter lit up like a bonfire. TikTok turned into a therapy session. Instagram feeds looked like national emergency alerts. The hashtags were a digital riot, with fans dropping ultimatums instead of prayers. This wasn't the coach made a choice. Benching Shedeur was seen as pure malpractice. You could scroll your feed and practically see flames roasting Stefanski's headset in real time. Meanwhile, Joe Flacco looked like he was allergic to forward progress. He dumped so many checkdowns, you'd think 5 yards was an electric fence he refused to cross. Detroit didn't even bother scheming. They just lined up, yawned, and waited for Flacco to hand the ball right back. Watching it unfold was less NFL showdown and more comedy sketch gone wrong. The Lions, on the other hand, looked like they knew the assignment. National TV means put on a show. Explosive plays, highlight reels, tempo so fast it had fans buzzing out of their seats. It felt like 2 completely different sports happening on the same field. Detroit brought the fireworks. Cleveland?
Wait, if the veteran's going to turn the ball over and make shaky decisions, why not just go with the rookie and see what he got there and let him turn the ball over and make shaky decisions?
We're big Joe Flacco fans, but at a certain point, like, the defense is getting the job done. Quinshon Judkins has been more than I think what they could have hoped for since it's only been 23 days since he signed his contract. And Kevin Stefanski, the coach of the Browns, was asked yesterday about the starting quarterback situation. Obviously, when we struggle like we did on offense, I understand the question, but that's not our focus, whatever that means.
He's trying to not make the focus the quarterback situation. But you heard me say at one point in the viewing room yesterday, what did I say about this game? I said, if they would just have kneeled on the ball, this game would have been 10-7 in the third quarter.
They lit a candle and whispered a prayer by halftime. The scoreboard didn't even matter. The real story was the death spiral of the ratings. The Browns weren't just losing a game, they were throwing away their relevance in real time. And make no mistake, this wasn't just football failure. It was a financial earthquake. Industry insiders claim broadcast execs were texting each other in full-blown panic, the kind usually reserved for stock market crashes. Because here's the thing, they didn't pay billions for Joe Flacco jogging out there to hand the ball into a brick wall. They paid for Shedeur Sanders, the generational playmaker, the highlight factory, the guy who actually pulls in new audiences. Instead, America was forced to watch cameras cut to a frustrated Shedeur on the sideline, shaking his head like he was trapped in a nightmare. Now, imagine being a marketing exec who spent months crafting campaigns around Sanders' star power, only to have your shiny ads air during a game that people literally abandoned mid-broadcast. That's not exposure, that's brand demolition. And you better believe the league office noticed, because while the NFL pretends teams run their own shows, the truth is, this isn't just a sports league. It's an entertainment empire with billion-dollar stakes. When one franchise's clown show starts costing the entire league money, alarms don't just go off. They start blaring in New York like it's Wall Street in freefall. 40% of an audience walking out on prime time?
The interaction between when Scott Petrak yesterday asked Kevin, is Joe going to be the quarterback? He was non-committal, obviously. Scott followed up, still gave no straight answer. Zach's opinion, I spoke to Zach earlier today, his opinion was that at the time of that press conference, Kevin Stefanski was not sure who the quarterback was going to be. Do you believe that as well? And who do you think is going to be the quarterback this week?
Yeah, he might not have known during that press conference. And I asked him after the game, of course. It seems like every week I ask him in the post-game press conference, are you sticking with Joe Flacco?
Yeah.
And he was non-committal after the game, too, which in previous weeks, he's gone right to Joe's our quarterback.
That's not a hiccup. That's DEFCON 1 for the commissioner's office. Don't think for a second calls aren't being made to Cleveland asking, what in the world are you doing? And inside the Browns locker room, chaos. Veterans know the truth. Television money is salary money. When coaching decisions start bleeding ratings, it's not just wins and losses on the line. It's everyone's paychecks. Word is spreading that even players are questioning Stefanski's sanity. Linemen are sick of blocking for drives that stall before they start. Defensive players are fed up with running back onto the field after another humiliating 3-and-out. Behind closed doors, whispers are turning into shouts. Enough is enough. Meanwhile, fans are revolting in real time. Season ticket holders listing their seats during the game. Local bars switching the channel because customers were demanding anything but Browns football. Think about that. Cleveland fans abandoning their team is like fish abandoning water. It shouldn't even be possible. But it just happened. And the national media? Ruthless. ESPN dedicating entire blocks to ripping apart the disaster. Former coaches straight up calling Stefanski's playbook career suicide. Even Hall of Fame executives are floating the nuclear option, that maybe the league itself needs to intervene. Because when a coach isn't just losing games but actively draining the NFL's money machine, that's not incompetence. That's sabotage on a grand scale. The Shield can't tolerate Stefanski's weak excuse anymore. His robotic line about Flacco giving them the best chance to win has become a bad joke, and nobody's laughing. Reporters roll their eyes, fans boo louder, and even the locker room isn't buying it. The Browns have spent years clawing their way out of the eternal punchline label, and in just a few stubborn weeks, Stefanski managed to drag them right back into the mud.
Needs to be fired. I mean, I've been only talking about this for 3 weeks, but he has to go. This has to end. They're out there with 9 minutes to go in the game. Did you hear Oliphant or who was it that called the game? Over there talking about, look at these guys. They're listless. They're not even trying. There's no sense of urgency out there with this offense. Because they every time they get something going, Stefanski calls play action and chuck it. We're going to quarterback sneak with Flacco.
Picture this. You're the owner, watching national broadcasts get yanked off screens, sponsors quietly pulling the plug, ticket sales sinking like stones, and your head coach standing there insisting Joe Flacco is the future. That's not leadership. That's public humiliation on live TV. Behind the scenes, the front office is boiling. GM Andrew Berry reportedly wanted Shedeur back on the field, armed with hard data proving he gave them the best chance to win. Stefanski ignored it. And in Cleveland, the very birthplace of football analytics, that's heresy. The divide between the coach and the front office is widening with every ugly loss. And the dysfunction is so bad, even insiders are whispering about a possible collapse from the top down. And the fallout? Brutal. Future draft prospects are already looking at Cleveland like a career graveyard. Free agents aren't just hesitant. They're demanding hazard pay to even consider signing. Sponsors are slamming the brakes on deals. The Browns' already fragile reputation isn't just cracking.
My goodness, I'm frustrated. I'm disgusted by the offense. And once again, it's Joe Flacco throwing 2 interceptions and fumbling the football again. And he was bailed out. He would have actually had more turnovers if it not for a defensive holding penalty. That's simple. It's plain and simple why we lost. The defense, once again, did what they could until they couldn't do no more. And the Browns were blown out. Bench Flacco, start Gabriel, start Shedeur, pick one of them. Let's see a rookie because we're done with the abysmal quarterback.
It's taking on water fast, like a ship going under. And all of this chaos circles back to one stubborn decision, benching the one player who could have saved the season, the ratings, and maybe even Stefanski's own job. Now fans aren't just mad, they're mobilized. They're canceling subscriptions, returning merch, and boycotting games in unison. This isn't a fan base anymore. It's a full-blown resistance. Fans aren't saying they hate the Browns. They're demanding accountability. They're done paying premium prices to watch bargain bin football while a generational quarterback rots on the sideline like a prop. And honestly, they're right. If any other entertainment company gave its audience the exact opposite of what they wanted, it would collapse overnight. The Browns are finding out the hard way that football is not immune to that rule. And the meltdown is now deafening. This isn't just about Cleveland anymore. It's bigger. The outrage has gone national, and now the NFL itself is being forced to ask a brutal question. How much freedom should a franchise really have if its stubborn choices start tanking league-wide revenue? Because this isn't just a Browns disaster.
The 21-year-old standing behind him was battering ram, but you're going to let the 40-year-old who could barely move sneak it twice. It's just the logic, the thinking, everything about it is a complete freaking disaster, and it's Kevin Stefanski's watch. It is all under him. Why? How does he still have his job? How? How is that even possible?
It's turning into an NFL crisis. And here's the twisted part. Cleveland didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders once, they doubled down. They kept riding Joe Flacco into the abyss while their playoff hopes vanished into thin air and their fan base evaporated in real time. That's not coaching. That's self-destruction. None of the possible outcomes are pretty, but one thing is crystal clear. This circus can't last. Not for the fans, not for the players, not for the league. The Browns haven't just lost football games, they've lost something far more valuable. Trust, credibility, the patience of a fan base that's endured decades of misery, and finally decided they've had enough. The Browns didn't just bench Shedeur Sanders, they benched the future. And now the only real question is, how long will the league, the sponsors, the fans, and even Shedeur himself keep watching this slow-motion train wreck before somebody pulls the emergency brake? Cleveland's faithful, those poor, battle-scarred fans, hung on just long enough to witness the exact moment Shedeur got benched again. And when it happened, boom, exit stage left.
Major League, Kevin Stankowski is shooting. And he's gunning to put a plan in this week to pull off a win. So as you can see, Kevin Stankowski is doing his press conference after the loss to the Detroit Lions. Yeah, you can't make this up, as this man has more excuses and taking a lot of the blame. Blaming it on the coaches, we didn't do good enough. Yes, we didn't prepare him enough. How many games and how many press conferences you're going to do with the same exact line that we didn't do good enough, we didn't prepare them well enough? You cannot make this up. As Kevin Stankowski.
Remote controls clicked faster than you can say, "Why is Joe Flacco trending again?" It was a mass exodus, like an entire stadium ghosting at once, but from living rooms across America. The ratings chart didn't just dip, it dove off a cliff with no parachute in sight. And really, who could blame them? You can't promise fans the electric energy of Shedeur Sanders and then yank him mid-performance like he's some nervous Broadway understudy. That's not just bad coaching, that's a bait and switch. And somewhere in the league offices, you just know production meetings were brutal. Imagine being the exec forced to explain, "Well, see, we benched the generational star everyone tuned in for." And shocker, viewers fled. Simple cause and effect, like leaving milk out overnight. Spoiler alert, it spoils. But here's where it veers into comedy. The Browns are acting like this is all part of a master plan, like some genius chess move that fans just don't understand. Don't worry, we're saving him for the right moment. The right moment? Sir, the right moment was yesterday. The right moment wasn't some mystery on a calendar. It was right there when fans were screaming at their TVs like maniacs, ready to tattoo Shedeur's name across their foreheads. The right moment was when the audience begged for fireworks, not Flacco's greatest hits, volume 74. But instead of unleashing the one guy who could light up the game, Cleveland doubled down on Grandpa's pocket passer parade. And the fallout? Honestly, it was poetic. Social media instantly turned into a war zone. One half of the fan base screaming, "Put Shedeur back in," while the other half started boxing up their Browns gear for donation. And the memes. Oh, the memes. Flacco's highlights slowed down to dial up internet speed. Shedeur's face edited onto Free Willy posters. The ratings chart mocked into a ski slope so steep it looked like a black diamond run. Forget ESPN analytics. The internet already made it clear. Fans bailed in historic fashion. Meanwhile, Detroit had to be laughing their kneecaps off. The Lions barely had to try. Every time Flacco floated a ball through the air with the urgency of a paper airplane, you could almost hear Detroit defenders smirking.
And I said last week that at some point, you'll go to the rookie. It's a matter of when.
Yeah.
And this is the time.
Yeah.
It's the time. Maybe not this week because they're going to London, unfortunately. Yeah. But when they get back from being across the pond, they got to make a move.
All right, we'll get more into that in a little bit because I think we're going to probably all be in agreement on that. G. Bush, your instant reaction to the Browns?
Yeah, I don't lost a lot of the vitriol and sting that it has because we was talking about it beforehand. I played on some teams where we went 1-10. And it's the only time I ever contemplating just straight, not wanting to play football.
The poor announcers tried their best, hyping up 5-yard completions like they were game winners. But when your broadcast team starts talking more about concession stand nachos than the actual plays, that's desperation at its finest. Viewers weren't sticking around for that circus. They were clicking away to literally anything else. Reruns, weather channels, even obscure documentaries about goats in the Swiss Alps felt like a better investment of time. Cleveland thought this would be just another game, but instead, it became a comedy roast that the entire country tuned out of. The Browns thought this disaster would blow over in a week, but the truth is, it's snowballing into something way bigger. The NFL isn't just dealing with another bad Cleveland season. They're facing a national embarrassment on primetime TV.
Seriously.
I don't know. Again, why was Mike Prefer let go? I ask that every time I think about why Bub is here. Like, what did Mike Prefer do that was wrong? I know it's been a couple years now. Like, well, I just don't get it.
Yeah, I expect better results. This is 2 straight years of poor special teams play where they're unprepared in that phase of the game. I mean, you had a punt return collision. It was almost a fumble on a punt return because you had 2 guys. It was like the Keystone Cops out there. Guys slamming into each other. Loose footballs everywhere. Bodies flying everywhere, trying to fall on the loose ball. Like, it's really, really frustrating.
Every time Joe Flacco trots out there like it's 2009, you can practically feel sponsors, execs, and fans rolling their eyes in unison. It's not just painful, it's brand poison. And here's the twist. Shedeur Sanders himself isn't staying quiet anymore. Cameras caught him on the sideline, shaking his head, muttering under his breath, and reporters swear he's getting more and more vocal behind closed doors. Rumors are swirling that he's already questioning whether Cleveland is the place to build his legacy, or if he's wasting precious years carrying a franchise that refuses to unleash him. Imagine the headline, "The Browns push away the QB who could have saved them." That's not just a mistake, that's a curse-level blunder. Meanwhile,
Dylan Gabriel, but I'm not sure. I'm really not 100% sure. Some of it can be gamesmanship because this is an important football game to win. I know that might sound crazy because the Browns are 1-3, but so are the Ravens. And I see you guys had a graphic up earlier that the AFC North is a mess. And that is why this game is so vitally important. If you can get to 2-3 and start to be hanging around and keep yourself in the mix a little bit, anything can happen. We know Joe Burrow is out for 3 months. We know that the Baltimore Ravens are a mess right now. And if Pittsburgh doesn't completely run away with this, then there is a world in which the Browns can stay in this or get back in this a little bit if they start to string together some victories.
The locker room looks like it's one loss away from open mutiny. Players are tired of defending decisions they don't believe in. Veterans are grumbling, rookies are frustrated, and the whispers are turning into shouts. Why are we dying on the hill of Joe Flacco? If Shedeur Sanders ever decides he's had enough, the Browns won't just lose games, they'll lose the only hope they've had in decades. And when that happens, the fallout won't just haunt Cleveland, it'll haunt the entire NFL for years. But what Cleveland didn't realize is that by benching Shedeur Sanders, they basically triggered the football version of Chernobyl.
The thing that showed Joe Flacco like that he just can't play this position today, there's one play in particular outside of the turnovers. He's scrambling for a first down. It's like 2nd and 1 or 2nd and 3, and he scrambles. And this dude, it can clearly get the first down. And he slid for a 1-yard gain or something like that. And I'm like, Joe, that guy was 10 steps away from you. You couldn't, he was so slow. And he knows that if he dives, it might be a career ender. He might be getting destroyed, turned to dust. And he knows that. So he can't even take those chances.
The meltdown wasn't just about losing a game. It was about the humiliation of watching your own fan base abandon you in real time. It was about becoming the late-night punchline, the meme stock of the NFL, the cautionary tale of a team that somehow managed to chase viewers away while having a generational rookie on the roster. And now, the fallout is even juicier. Sponsors are sweating bullets. The league office is side-eyeing Cleveland like, fix this before we do. And fans, they're already threatening boycotts, mass unsubscribes, and total blackouts of future broadcasts. Imagine having to explain to your advertisers why nobody wants to watch your product anymore. Good luck with that. Because when your ratings collapse like a house of cards in a hurricane, there's no polished press release on earth that can erase the fact you benched the only guy worth watching. So now I've got to ask, what do you think? Has Cleveland already burned this bridge beyond repair, or can they somehow crawl out of this disaster? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and if you made it this far, make sure to like, subscribe, and share. It helps a ton, and I'll see you on the next one.